Hey everybody, we got some big announcements from Springfield Armory today and thought we'd get out to the range and test all this stuff out and tell you about it. So first off, the Hellcat RDP, Rapid Defense Package. So it's a Hellcat, you know the Hellcat, small micro compact gun, holds a lot of ammo. The flush fit mag holds 11. Yeah, we like that. But what is the RDP package? Okay, it has obviously a comp on the front. Now this is a self-indexing comp, so you can actually, and this is a very unloaded gun, okay? You can actually take it on and off very easily. You don't have to use shims. It indexes every time, and that's nice. Obviously, to have a comp on it, it has a threaded barrel. And then up here, yes, Hellcats are ready to take an optic, but this one comes with an optic, and this is a new optic from Springfield Armory, the HEX series of optics from Springfield Armory, okay? Other stuff, we'll get into that more in just a second. Other stuff on this gun, it has a Gen 2 trigger, and a new thing for the Hellcat is an optional thumb safety. This is actually an ambi thumb safety. You can also get it without a thumb safety if you don't want that. So let's shoot a little bit, let's talk about it, see what we think. First shot's out of the gun. Very comfortable to shoot. This is a micro compact. It's, you know, the regular Hellcat shoots great, but having a comp on here obviously is going to send gases up. It's going to keep the pistol pushed down a little bit, help control recoil. Let's shoot a little bit more. All right, Gen 2 trigger, nice feel to it. Now, as far as this thumb safety goes, I'm not a big thumb safety guy. Some people just really want to have a thumb safety on their gun, especially one that they're gonna carry on their person all the time. It's kind of a preference thing. This one, the thumb safety for me falls a little bit far back of where I would normally run it, but it is ambi, so that's an option too. And then it has other things like the U-notch sights. But let's talk about the optic, because that is a big deal. And for this RDP, the Rapid Defense Package, the optic comes on the gun. HEX Optics, it's a new optics company from Springfield Armory. And this one is called the Wasp. This is the micro compact optic. Now, what fits on here? This is same micro pattern as the Shield RMSC. So it's that small direct mount kind of deal. Now this does not have an on-off. It does not have dimmable or brightening adjustments. This is auto dim and auto adjust. And I can tell you, we had it at the office and it works. It auto dims, auto adjusts. It's pretty cool actually. They say this is 65,000 hours of battery life, but conservatively, it's 2 years at a lower setting. So you kind of figure it to be a 2-year battery life on this. It's a 3.5 MOA dot, and it pops right into view. And because this mounts so low, it sort of co-witnesses with the irons. I noticed that they line up pretty good. Not that that's something you're gonna have to try to worry about, but as far as being able to see the irons through the optic, yes, you can. Let's shoot a few more. Small gun, it's got a little pop to it. You know, I think that obviously the comp helps a little bit with that. Kind of nice, fast follow-ups. You know, when I'm doing that, I can see the dot the whole time. It never leaves the window. All right, so that is the new Hellcat RDP. But let's get into the HEX Optics a little bit more because they have a big brother to this one. This one is a little bit bigger. It's called the Dragonfly. So kind of a more traditional footprint for a red dot, whereas the Wasp is that micro compact, direct mount for those real small guns that are taking red dots these days. This one is more of a traditional fit. So we've got it on a big old XDM Elite gun, which looks the part. This is kind of what you do. But really, this is also for rifles or shotguns, other applications, because after all, it's a red dot. Now, a couple things that are kind of cool about this. this is obviously bigger. One of the things, yes, you have windage elevation. You do have a brightness setting on here. This does have a 16-hour auto shut-off. So when you forget to shut it off, right, it's gonna shut off for you, conserve your battery. Another thing that I thought was kind of clever is what they did here is they have these anti-glare cuts, very similar to what you see on iron sights, and they have it on here too. And that's something that competitive shooters figured out a long time ago. Just helps with when it's a real bright sunny day like this, you don't get the glare, cuts down on this. So they started putting this on the optic, which, I don't know, could help, kind of makes some sense. But let's shoot this one a little bit. Yeah, bigger window on this, maybe a little bit easier to pick up. But this is the Dragonfly, it's bigger. Now there's a difference in price. This one, $249 retail. The Wasp, $299 retail. So they also, something else about these is lifetime warranty. And you can find more details on the website and all that stuff, but lifetime warranty, they stand by it, which is great. But Hex optics from Springfield Armory, pretty cool. We had a chance to talk to Rob Leatham about the new optics and the new Hellcat. I wanted to get his take. New stuff from Springfield Armory, so we thought we'd go right to the source. Rob Leatham with Springfield. Rob, welcome in, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to see you.
So, okay, first off, take us through the RDP. It's a Hellcat, but it has some extra features.
Yeah, it's kind of like a super Hellcat. You take the standard Hellcat platform, and we've already introduced the optical sight version called the OSP. So we put a longer barrel in it. So it's got a thread barrel, and it has a self-timing muzzle brake. So basically, you can use it or not use it. You can thread it on, but it's pretty cool how it sets up. You lock slide back, screw it on until the index is the right point, let go of the little lever, and boom, you're set up and it's ready to go. Probably the coolest part about it is it reduces recoil without adding any significant weight. I mean, the comp weighs about, hell, the extension of the barrel around, I'll bet it doesn't weigh an ounce. I'll bet the barrel extension and the comp itself reduces recoil and muzzle flip, gets you back on target, makes the gun more comfortable, everything you could want.
Okay, now they say there's a Gen 2 trigger in this, but how do you describe that? What's different about this trigger?
Well, the shape of the trigger is quite a bit different. When we did the first version of it, I guess if you looked at it in cross section, it would be sort of round. So the point where your finger came on was kind of a round surface, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
And as we're constantly messing with everything, it's just how we do it. So we're adjusting things, and we're like, I'd really like the trigger to be a flatter surface, which gives it a more spread out positioning on your finger. And we basically just change the angle a little bit, and then the flat surface in the front. But when you shoot the two side by side, there's really not a performance difference. Like, it's not a lighter trigger or something like that, but just the comfort for me. The difference between the first and the second gen is the second gen is much more comfortable on my finger.
Gotcha. Now, optics, Hex optics from Springfield Armory, this is a big deal. I mean, why did you guys decide to do the optics, and what do people need to know about them?
Well, nobody saw that coming. Matter of fact, we had talked, everything like this has been in the works for a couple of years, but we managed to keep it pretty tight. The problem with optics, especially if you're a manufacturer, is we are never getting exactly what it is we want, because optical engineers design a thing and this is what they want. Then the firearms manufacturer, they design a thing and this is what they want. We have to make them fit together. Mm-hmm. So we said, we're going to cut the middleman out. We're going to produce a line of optics that fit on the guns perfectly, have the features that we want. And that's basically what started it up. And as you well know, because I know you've shot optics and we've shot optics together before, it's just the future. I mean, it's just where it's going to go, because it's, in some instances, it is so much better that it overcomes any sort of weakness it has.
So how does one choose between the Wasp and the Dragonfly, different sizes?
Well, you got to think about what the application is. The RDP it's available, and the one that fits it is the Wasp, which is the small, compact footprint. The Dragonfly is a larger, more standard size sight. Like I can show you. There's a Dragonfly mounted on a OSP XDM. You know, when you look at the difference of it on the RDP, it doesn't look like a lot till you put them side by side. And then the one side is dramatically smaller and more compact. So that's beautiful for carry, but let's say that's not your goal. Maybe you want to put it on a carbine, maybe you want to put on a shotgun or a holster gun, an external like a duty rig or even a competition gun. And you probably want to enhance the optical experience by making the screen a little bit bigger. Mm-hmm. But size always has a cost, you know, so that's the larger sight on the OSP or on the RDP really doesn't look right. You know, it's kind of like putting, you know, a huge lens on a tiny camera. It really doesn't look right, and it isn't what you really need. Makes it harder to conceal. So you kind of pick it by the usage and which guns you're putting it on.
One thing that you guys put in this that I thought was kind of interesting is the anti-glare little notches on the rear, which you see on iron sights, but I haven't seen it on optics before.
Well, we found a lot of little things like that as we're developing the sights, and that's where, you know, having shooters on hand really make a difference. So as we're designing things, I mean, it's just the shape of the sight is such that you can actually put your hand on the front of the sight and you can't touch the lens. I mean, that doesn't sound like a big deal, but that's a big deal, because if your hand is dirty or anything and you start operating the slide and touch the sight, it kind of messes up the lens. As you know, you don't touch lenses on cameras or anything else. And it's the same deal. So we put that into it, and the lens is glass. So it's nice and hard, and the coating holds up really well. But getting all those little shapes, you know, on like you said, on iron sights, we have lines on them, serrations to keep them from glaring. Well, there are flat surfaces to your eye on the HEX optics too, and we've addressed that reflective issue.
Awesome. Anything else that you're real excited about on these HEX optics?
Oh, I just can't wait for them to get out there in people's hands. I've been shooting optical sights mounted on slides most of the time lately. Got to be honest with you, Ryan. Probably 75% of the shots I shoot now have an optical sight on them. 5 years ago, I would have said, you don't need this. You know, 3 years ago, I said, you know, there may be something to this. And now it's something every shooter needs to at least investigate. I'm not saying you got to go out and buy and put sights on every one of your guns. But what I am saying, it's very likely if you borrow your buddies or go try one and go shoot it, when you go back to iron sights, you're going to see there's a huge advantage to the optical sight. Yeah,
absolutely. There's definitely a reason why we're seeing red dots becoming commonplace on pistols.
Yeah. And even more important on the small gun, you would think that small gun, you don't want to add the size and the weight from the concealability problems, but it really isn't, because where the sight is mounted, when you put it in your holster, it really doesn't cause too many issues with the concealability. But immediately the sight radius doesn't matter. That's the biggest thing you're going to see on the small pistol. It won't matter if it's light, you're in a dark environment. It won't make any difference. It adjusts for that. And the sight radius doesn't matter. Your vision doesn't matter. All of a sudden, I used to think they were silly on the little guns, Ryan, and now I think there's a bigger reason for them on the small guns and the concealed guns than they are for the full-size guns.
That's an interesting point. Rob, thanks for walking us through all this stuff.
Hey, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.